I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Law Firm Owner Podcast, episode number 179. Welcome to the Law Firm Owner Podcast, powered by Velocity Work, for owners who want to grow a firm that gives them the life they want. Get crystal clear on where you're going, take planning seriously, and honor your plan like a pro. This is the work that creates velocity. Okay, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode. I am thrilled to be here with Danny Ozment, and this is long overdue. So welcome to the show, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think we both have, I guess I shouldn't speak for you, but what I was going to say was a deep love for Ernie Svensson, Ernie the attorney.
Definitely.
Yeah. I call him my angel. I feel like he's an awesome human, and it's such a privilege to know him. And you guys are really close. You've worked closely together for several years now.
Yeah, he's one of my clients and a friend, and he's just like you said, he's a very generous individual.
Oh my gosh.
Who takes care of his flock, his group, whatever you want to call it. He really looks out for the people that he works with.
Yeah. Yes. Well, do you want to maybe just introduce yourself a bit to the audience, what you do?
Sure. So I own a company called Emerald City Productions. I think the official LLC or the official whatever it is in Florida, because I had to move it, is Emerald City Podcast Production and Consulting or something like that. EmeraldCityPro.com. So we help people produce and launch podcasts, manage podcasts, market their podcasts. I started out as a musician, always thought I was going to be a musician. I even got a master's degree in music and went into the nonprofit arts world for a little while. But some things changed with my family life and we needed a little bit more flexibility. So about 13, 14 years ago now, I started a recording studio out of my house because I knew how to do some recording and started recording some music groups and bands and a cappella groups. And during that time, we're 17, 18 years into podcasting at this point. I started listening to podcasts early on, maybe a little over a decade ago. And they were helping me. They were helping me with my business. They were helping me with my life. And I noticed that there were a lot of podcasts that just did not sound good. And I was working in the recording industry and I know how to make people sound good. Like, let me help some of these people out because this is just ridiculous. They should be able to do this easily. I do it in my house. I go on the road and travel with gear. It's really easy to do this. I record right to my computer. I can teach people. So I just reached out to some of the people I was listening to, and they were very, very willing to let me help them. And I started doing it for free. And then eventually it became part of my business. And now it has completely supplanted all the music stuff that I used to do. It's maybe been 6 or 7 years now since I even worked on a music project. And now I work with a lot of, let's say, service professionals, busy professionals, a lot of lawyers, law firms, accountants. I have therapists, consultants, coaches, all who either had podcasts and needed help managing them or wanted to start a podcast because they saw that it might be able to do something to help their business. And that's what we love doing. That's pretty much what we do full time at this point.
That's so great. You're talking about your history as a musician. And for those of you that can't see him right now, he has a set of drums behind him. And so, yeah. Do you still play?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And this, I used to live in Nashville. Had a big recording studio in my house, like a 6-figure recording studio with multiple rooms and all this amazing stuff, and the huge window with the huge mixing console and all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
And now we've moved to Florida, Orlando, and I have one room in my house.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all I need at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you and I were going to chat about this idea that law firm owners should consider when it comes to marketing themselves. Yes, for sure. But something you and I were talking about before we started is just building relational capital with an audience and with potential clients and potential referral partners.
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear what you have to say on that based on your experience, because you've worked with a lot of law firm owners. You've helped them lift a podcast off the ground. So yeah, why do you think people law firm owners should consider it? And I'm also curious, are there certain practice areas that lend itself more to the success of this than others, or across the board, you could find your way with it?
Yeah. Well, any service professional, and especially lawyers, should consider it, because for the most part, lawyers are very similar. Law firms, small law firms, solo lawyers, even bigger law firms are very similar to even my business, most small businesses. We have to make connections. We have to build relationships to get business, whether that's referral sources, whether that's people knowing who we are, whether it's trusting us, needing to trust us before they hire us. I have an example. We're in Orlando and we just added solar panels to our house, which is really great in Florida. It's sunny all year. HOAs actually in Florida aren't allowed to say no to solar panels, things like that. So it's really great. And I did the normal thing, like just as many people would do with a lawyer. I went to Google My Business and I searched in my area, who are the solar companies? And of course, there's probably 100 solar companies that install solar panels in Central Florida. And some of them are national companies that have local whatever. And, just like law firms, there's the Morgans and Morgans of the world. And there's all this stuff. And I was like, okay, so who's got the best reviews? Okay, it's these 3 or 4. So I reached out to those 3 or 4 to set up meetings for them to come and talk to me. And then maybe 3 out of the 4 actually set up meetings. I had them. I picked the one that felt best to me. I enjoyed the talk and trusted the person the most. And when we were sitting in that conversation, I said, one thing I noticed was that on all of your websites, there was no content marketing. There was no blogs. There was maybe a few blog posts explaining some things, but no one had a YouTube channel. No one had a podcast. I said, if you had had a podcast, it would have been a no-brainer for me, because I would have been able to listen to some episodes, get to know you as the owner of the company, learn some stuff that you could have told me. We wouldn't have had to spend as much time in our, meetings here at the house, save time for both of us. I would have liked you. I would have maybe not even had another call if I'd had that opportunity. And so that's what it is for lawyers, is that whether you're talking about your practice area, whether you're just talking about the area that you live in, whether you're being the digital marketing mayor of your town and teaching people about this wonderful place that you live, it's a great opportunity on a podcast to spend time with people. I like to call it referral marketing on a grand scale, because when we think of referral marketing, yes, it's someone recommending a service to someone else who is a friend of theirs or who trusts them. But the trust is the key, right? It's not a referral if someone just says, oh, yeah, I use this product. The referral comes when they say, oh, yes, you need this thing. You have this problem. I know someone who can help you with that problem, who can solve that problem. And I trust them. They are the best at this. You need to go to them. For instance, Ernie is one of my referral sources. I have several clients that have come from Ernie saying, hey, you need a podcast. Go talk to this person. This is who I work with. This is who I trust. And really, with a podcast, when you are the host and you've got people, listeners, who are spending time with you each week, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes a week, they are getting to know you as a friend. They are trusting you. And when you say, oh, you have this problem with this real estate deal or this estate planning issue, my daughter has some medical needs, so we have a special needs trust. So I need to go to a specific lawyer and I need to know that they have this knowledge. If I can then listen to their podcast and hear that they care about this, or maybe that they have a family member that has medical needs and that's why they got into this area of law, I'm going to do whatever they say. If they say, come to me for this, I'm going to that person. And that's really why it works. I could throw out, a bunch of other stats, and maybe we can get more into this, but the way people behave with a podcast, a listener, this is proven stats. We do a yearly study. I say we, Edison Research, which is a really recognized research organization. They do a yearly study of podcasts that they've done now for over 13 years, if I remember correctly. And they find that 93% of podcast listeners listen to more than half or all of every episode. And I see that play out when I look at our clients' stats as well. I mean, their average episode consumption by listeners is 75%. And that means if you do a 20-minute episode, you've got people for 15 minutes. If you do a 30-minute episode, it's even more. 40, 45, that's a lot of time. And when you think about other areas like YouTube, or maybe you've got a blog on your site where people are reading it for 5 minutes, or YouTube, they're watching 2 minutes of your 5-minute video. There's a big difference there. These people are your friends. And that's why for me, it's the best option for any service professional to build trust with potential clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything you're saying, I agree with. I feel like this podcast has existed long enough. I've lived to see some of what you're talking about. And it takes time. And that's something you and I were chatting about is, what are barriers for people not starting one? From my seat, the people I get to work with, let's just take Mastery Group, for example. That's the group that I run. And I am fascinated by all of them. They all have unique spins on what they do and how they think and the value that they bring to people. And I think there's one person, maybe two, that has a podcast out of, 50 plus. I would love to see them shine with their expertise and connection, and because they care so deeply, but they're kind of behind a wall. And even if you have marketing campaigns in place and someone helping you with that, getting to know you, I don't think there's any other way like a podcast to do that. Right. I know people, like you said, are like, people talk a lot about YouTube, but what's fascinating is, it doesn't surprise me at all, is that people will stay on there for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, maybe max, and then miss the rest of it. Or a podcast you can have on in the background and you really do get a sense for someone. That makes a big difference. I think it would just amplify the effectiveness of your marketing campaigns and of your, just like you were saying with the solar panel company. If they would have had a podcast, the conversion probably would have happened so much faster. I just really appreciate what you're saying. And so going back to this idea that this is a long game and you're sharing for the sake of building relationships and putting stuff out there so that people can get to know you. And I think sometimes people get deflated when they don't see things happen super fast and all of a sudden the phone doesn't start ringing at week 4. So I'd love to hear you talk about that.
I mean, to put things a little in perspective, for instance, a lot of people will think about YouTube, and YouTube is a self-contained network, right? YouTube was built actually 5 or 6 years after podcasts started, because podcasts are very similar to blogs. They use an RSS feed. And so YouTube, they'll see all the time, this video has 1,000 views, or this video has 10,000 views, or this video has 1 million views. But they don't understand that a view is not very high quality at all. A view is maybe someone spent like 5% of the time watching the video. They didn't get far through it. It still counts as a view. If they then click play again, it's a view. Whereas with a podcast, like the average podcast gets about 165 downloads per episode after about 30 days. If you have 1,000 downloads per episode, you are in the, top 20% of all podcasts. The top 1% get more than 10,000 downloads an episode. So the number's lower, but like we talked about, it's a lot more time. Those 165 downloads, they are spending 15, 20, 30 minutes with you. That's a long amount of time. But people, when they hit that point where they're choosing, like, what are we going to do for content marketing? There's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of hurdles of like, oh, this is going to take time. We got to think about this. If it's video, we've got to have a camera. We've got to get our makeup on. We got to get dressed. We got to plan it out. We got to decide whether are we going to have edits or we not. People can see the edits. They'll know I did the, whatever. And then with a blog, people might think, well, a lawyer, it's very easier to write a blog because they write all the time. But, well, you write in a certain way as a lawyer versus marketing content that people can understand, and you still have to plan it out. With a podcast, especially for lawyers, you're used to talking. Most lawyers are used to talking in some way, whether it's in the office, whether they're dictating, whether they are actually trial lawyers or whatever. They're used to talking to clients. They're used to explaining things. It's very similar to, like I mentioned, I have a lot of therapist clients. They're used to talking to people. So it's a very easy thing for them to start a podcast. But with a podcast, it's still hard work. It's okay, I got to plan out these episodes. I got to get the equipment. They do need to be edited, but it's easier to edit. So you won't sound like you're being edited. But then I got to figure out, okay, I got to publish this. And that's partly why my company exists, is we help people with all that back end stuff. But then the person starting a podcast starts to think about, oh, it's only 165 downloads. So remember the quality. It's quality downloads, but it takes a while. And like you were saying, it's a long-term investment. And so I spend a lot of my time helping those clients deal with okay, yes, it's going to take a long time, but the quality of the listener is so much higher. And that's why you have to stick with it. It's a long-term marketing investment, but 6 months in, a year in, a year and a half in, you are building up this core audience of people that trust you like a friend. And they are becoming not only people that you are referring to come to you, but they are now referring you to other people, whether they need a real estate lawyer or not, or a family law person. They have listeners who know people who need that. And if someone says, oh yeah, I need help with this, they're like, oh, I listen to this podcast that this person does and talks about the city I live in, but they're a family law attorney. We had one client who he is in a very relatively small town in Louisiana, maybe 10,000 people in the town. And he just did a podcast because he wanted to talk about the town. He wanted people to know more about the town. And oh yes, it was sponsored by his firm. He's a personal injury attorney. But what started to happen was, not only did he have like 1,000 people join his Facebook group and know lives in the area and know he's a personal injury attorney, but anyone in that area, whenever they needed any type of lawyer, they would go to him. And so now he's getting referrals that he can send to other, he's getting that sort of thing too. So there's all sorts of ways that this long-term investment can help you out. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about repurposing and how doing a podcast can help you with your other marketing. But in terms of the investment, there's all sorts of reasons to stick with it. When you're a lawyer, it's not only the fact that it's easier to talk and hit record and you're used to doing that. It's also that connection, that quality of the content marketing that you get from the podcast that is the reason you stick around and keep doing it.
As you were talking about, we talked a little bit before we pushed record, as you were talking about just, the long game, it makes me think, I lead strategic planning retreats, and there's times where the projects or rocks that they say that they're going to do that quarter, sometimes they are long game kind of things. And sometimes they are short-term bumps. It'll just kind of give a bump to revenue or bump to whatever. And as you were talking about this, it almost feels like this mental picture in my head of a freight train just getting speed and getting momentum is how you should think about this.
Yes.
And I think having a partner to help so that you aren't the only one that's putting the power behind it, because it is a lot, I think, especially it's overwhelming if this isn't your world, this isn't your game. I mean, I was super overwhelmed when I started mine, and I didn't start mine with any help, which, I was just starting out. It just was, the resources weren't there yet. And over time, resources got there, and I was like, wow, it's so much easier when someone else's brain is really driving this train. I'm hoping that helps someone, because there's times where you'll do something and it's like a little rocket that's just shooting off really quickly, and it's purposeful and it's a decision you made. This is not that. This is more of it's going to take a bit to get some momentum, but when it does, it is a freight train. At least that's what I've experienced for myself. And I'm sure that your clients have experienced that too.
Definitely. It organically grows and it gets easier and easier. We work a lot with clients early on to encourage engagement with their audience, actually getting the audience to talk back, ask questions, answering those questions, getting them involved in some way. It's a fine line for lawyers about being able to offer advice and things like that on their podcast, but they can certainly answer questions. We've had clients bring audience members on and interview them about issues they've had, and or bring on former clients and talk about their experiences and what the process was like. But that's partly why we do a lot of this. That's why we exist at Emerald City Productions, being able to support because we know that the small business has to do all types of marketing. They have to do long-term investment marketing. They have to do short-term investment. They do need to do medium range. They got to do Facebook ads. They've got to do bus vinyl wraps and things like that, and billboards. And they also need to have an email list, and they also need to have a blog, and they need to do some video, and they need to be on TikTok, and they need to have Instagram Reels, and they also need to do maybe a podcast. And so we get into the habit of helping these clients concentrate on one piece of content that then generates all those other things. And I mentioned repurposing. That's literally the services we offer to pretty much all of our service professional clients, lawyers included, is here's all you have to do. If you're starting a podcast, here are your first 5 episodes. Here's what I want you to do. And then after that, you're just going to answer the questions you get all the time, or you're going to talk about things going on, changes. We have a client who's an immigration lawyer, has a firm that works with tech startups. So she's always doing, every week there's something new, something has changed. There's this new thing to explain. There's this new way, this new visa, this visa affects this country differently. So there's always something new to make people aware of. But once you get into that, we only want our clients to have to do that one thing. Hey, you're going to record that 20-minute episode about this J visa or whatever. Then you're going to send that to us and you are done. You're done with your work. My team is going to take that episode, which we tell our clients, hopefully you streamed it live. So you put some video out there in the world live. You maybe had some people ask questions in the comments and you could answer those. But now we've got video and we've got the audio, and we can take the audio and we can turn that into your podcast episode. We can edit it down, clean it up, take out all that live mumbo jumbo that you have in live stream situations. There's your podcast. And we can take the video and we can clip out some minute-long things, and there's your Instagram Reels and your TikTok videos and your micro content. Oh, and then we can hand it off to our copywriter who's going to write the show notes for your podcast episode. And so you've got that, which is attached to the file. And that goes on your website. And we're going to put that on your website for you. And we're going to upload the episode. And maybe, like, a lot of lawyers love to put transcripts of their episodes up as well for accessibility. We can do that too. And then we're going to send out an email to your email list each week to your tag of people that want to hear about the podcast. So now they get it. It comes to their inbox. They click on a link. They've got the show notes right there. It takes them right to your page. So they're on your website listening to your episode. And then maybe if they have another question, they can go to other parts of your website. Mm-hmm. We then also turn the episode information into social media posts. So we've got that copy. We create graphic templates for all of our podcasts so that each week we can update the graphic template, post the TikTok, post the the LinkedIn post the Facebook post. It's all there. It's visually appealing, and it updates people, and it has a link so that they can listen to the episode. I'm trying to think if I forgot. So it's that idea of if you're busy and you're a lawyer, and maybe you're solo, maybe you're a small firm, and you've got a couple paralegals, and maybe you've got an assistant that's helping with the office, you don't have time to do the marketing too. Mm-hmm. You're likely already hiring a digital marketing person to help with your website, to help with your Google My Business, help with SEO, all that sort of stuff. We're sort of the same thing, but we're all the other stuff. We are just create this one piece of content. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot one piece of content as well. You just record this thing, and out of that, you're going to have your YouTube channel. You're going to have a blog post. We actually turn the episode into a blog article as well. So you're going to have your video audience covered, your blog reader audience covered, your podcast listener audience covered, your social media covered, your email list covered. We even go further. Like, we have all different packages. We have one package where we create a downloadable executive summary of the episode each week. So it's not the transcript. It's much more cleaned up, 1,000 words, 1,500 words. Here are the big points in this episode. And we set it up as an opt-in. So each week, each episode, there's an opt-in on your page that if people want to download that PDF, they have to join your email list. And so each week, you're dripping a few more people onto your email list.
Well, I mean,
like there's all sorts of ways to use one piece of content and save yourself a lot of time when you have to be doing all this marketing.
Right. And I think the point you're making, which is so great, is that if you sit down for 30 minutes, 20 minutes and cover something specific that you want to cover, and then you're able to, if they partner with you, they're able to have all of these assets that that can be used within the business. And so again, sort of building that freight train, this really strong machine of content that you have. And so you help create that. The one thing in the last few minutes I would love to cover is why people don't do it. Like what gets in their way? Because I think it boils down to perfectionism.
That's one of the hurdles we see.
Not everybody is a perfectionist. I realize that, but there's usually something in your head that's keeping you from doing it. Like if I can't do it full out, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it. Well, okay. If you hire a partner like Emerald City Productions, then that takes care of that because they will lead the way. Or I don't know the perfect equipment to get. Right. So first of all, sound does matter, but just do your,
it's not hard.
I think, no. Yeah, it's exactly.
At this point,
you can do some research.
I generally see 3 hurdles, 3 barriers when people are like, oh, I love listening to podcasts. It would be so cool to do a podcast, but don't have time. I'm not really good with tech. Or
either the perfectionist, like they
the perfectionism.
Need to do it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And that's perfectionism one is actually the one I hear the least. It's usually time or equipment. So the thing with time for a lawyer, I get it. Like, especially if you're a small firm or you're solo. So that's why, we do a lot of the repurposing. But I often work with clients on thinking about, okay, do I have time each week to do this? Okay, if I don't have time each week to do this, the best solution is batching or batch recording. And so we work with clients on, well, do you have 2 afternoons a month where you could record 3 20-minute solo episodes each way, where you do 45 minutes of planning and then 3 consecutive 20-minute recordings. And within 3 hours, you've now got 3 episodes. And then another afternoon that month, you do the same thing. And now you've got 6 episodes. And if you're doing a weekly show, that's now a month and a half of content. Oh, and then another day, a month, a morning, could you schedule 2 interviews? Like, could you set that one day where your assistant is maybe talking to other people or other experts or other people you would like to, maybe listeners you want to bring on, clients, former clients you want to bring on. So the time can be worked out. Most lawyers can block their schedule or figure out a way to say, this is my recording.
All lawyers can do that.
Yeah, can block their schedule. So, and then tech, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I would have said, okay, yeah, well, you got to get this. And then you got to get a audio interface or a mixer so that you can do this and bring the calls in. But now it's as simple as, okay, buy this $100 USB microphone, plug it directly into your laptop or your MacBook or whatever, and use Zoom. You've used Zoom, right? Like in the last 2 to 3 years, you've probably used it a lot. So now it's even easier because it's like we don't even have to explain how to use Zoom anymore. We literally can just say, okay, go into the settings and check this box because we need this box checked to get the separate tracks for the people. So there's your tech handled.
And also worth mentioning that what you just said about the $100 microphone, because a lot of people I work with have this. I have this in me too. I mean, the first microphone I bought was $400. That was stupid.
I have a $400 microphone. I've worked with $12,000 microphones.
Okay. Wow. Well, what I was going to say is you and I have the same mic, the one that you were just talking about. So it's not what people think. It's so much easier than people think.
It. And like we help people, if you're going to do interviews, here's a checklist that you send to your guests. And you say, please do this. Please have this. Please make sure you're at least using your AirPods or something like that, earbuds to record. So the tech now is just really a non-existent issue. We actually spend more time with new clients thinking about, okay, you've got this $100 microphone. The reason I picked this one is because, well, most listeners can't hear the difference between this microphone and that $10,000 microphone I used in my recording studio in Nashville. So it sounds good. It sounds good in a lot of rooms. And then that's where we get into so to record your podcast, you do need a room to record in. That most likely can be your office, but here's what you need to do. If you have like wood floors and no carpet, you might want to get an area rug. to knock down some of the reflections off of it, the sound reflections. Do you have bookcases in your room? Good. Like that's really helpful. Be within, 2 to 4 inches from the microphone, like you and I are. And, but, that most of your problems are covered. So now let's move on to perfectionism. I love hearing that from you because I'm also like, I haven't heard that from clients in a while, because the great thing about the podcast is that you can talk for 30 minutes. You can talk for 40 minutes. The average podcast length is actually like 50 minutes long.
Really?
My podcast, I've never gone more than like 15 minutes in a solo episode just because I'm not verbose. I just don't talk. I get to the point, I do it and I'm done because, I'm busy too. So lawyers can do that. But you can also do 50 minutes. And in 50 minutes, you have a lot of time to be yourself.
Right.
And not be perfect. And people then trust you more because they hear that you're an actual human being. Right. Like we talked about Ernie. Ernie has 260 some episodes of his podcast now. Yeah. And that gives people a chance, all the lawyers that he works with, that gives them the chance to hear who Ernie is and be like, I like this guy. He's funny. He's a normal dude. Ernie's told me multiple times that if he had it to do all over again, rather than start his blog in 2004, he would have started a podcast. And he was early on in blogging. Like he was figuring out some of the crazy blogging stuff at the same time the podcasters were, attaching wires together and trying to figure out how they could do a radio show on the internet. And so it's that element of you don't have to be perfect. You can riff, you can talk for a little bit, you can rant if you want. You can really share your personality in teaching people something. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, is you don't have to be perfect.
I mean, I hope listeners just take away that this should be strongly considered as a part of their growth plan. And it really isn't as tough as what one might think. And, we didn't really talk about consistency, but it comes down to the same barriers that we were just talking about. Why people aren't consistent is they don't schedule time. They don't take it seriously. You just have to decide this is what you're doing. And batching, like you said before, batching to record multiple episodes. So you don't have to do it every single week. Having a partner like you guys to help law firm owners get this together is invaluable, because I don't know how in the hell I have stuck with a weekly episode for 3 years, a large part of that without a partner. And, you find that person that can really make the difference for creating ease with this machine that gets to be built, with this freight train that you were getting momentum with. Analogy. Yeah, it feels true. I'm going to use that more when I think about my own stuff. Like, is this freight train or is this a rocket? Yeah. So I hope people will reach out to you to learn more, or to hear about the packages that you have, and maybe just kind of get over themselves and have fun with it. Cause it can be a lot of fun if you can take some of the stuff that isn't your expertise and have somebody else do it. It could be a remarkable journey that's fruitful. Yeah. How do people learn more about you? Where should they go?
Yeah. The easiest way is emeraldcitypro.com. I think the lawyers will be impressed because we've done a whole big SEO project on the site. But the site is really great now for getting your questions answered, and also finding out about how we can help and what we can do. Because like you said, you want to have fun doing this. And if you know that you have to market your business, market your firm, you want to do the thing that you love and not have to waste the time on all the other things of, okay, I've also got to do social media now. I've also got to do this. I've also got to write a blog. We've got to do this. We got to start this marketing campaign. We got to, if you can have a lot of that taken care of by one piece of content, that's a great way to stay consistent, promote in a lot of different ways, and reach a lot of different audiences at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you had me.
Yeah, this has been great. We should have you back if you're willing.
Happy to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just every so often, just to chat through what you're noticing, what you're seeing, results that you're seeing through working with people.
Yeah. Okay. I'd love that.
Well, hey, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Go check out emeraldcitypro.com and get your questions answered and figure out how you can work this in to build something really long lasting, playing the long game. One more thing. I found a quote. playing the long game means paying a small price today to make tomorrow easier. And taking time to record the episode, hiring someone to make this, like this is playing the long game. And it makes tomorrow easier. Not tomorrow, but future tomorrow. And this just feels like a really smart thing for people, for any business owner, but we're talking to law firm owners to make a part of their plan. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Hey, you may not know this, but there's a free guide for a process I teach called Monday Map, Friday Wrap. If you go to velocitywork.com, it's all yours. It's about how to plan your time and honor your plans so that week over week, more work that moves the needle is getting done in less time. Go to velocitywork.com to get your free copy. Thank you for listening to the Law Firm Owner Podcast. If you're ready to get clearer on your vision, data, and mindset, then head over to velocitywork.com where you can plug in to quarterly strategic planning with accountability and coaching in between. This is the work that creates velocity.